We've been reading a book that one of our audience members has gifted me, and through me, all of us in this Sangha. That is his guru's autobiography of sorts, called Roar of the Ganges, where the Ganges is a very spiritual river in India, also known as the Ganga. His guru's name is Swami Tadatmanandaji, and he has given our blessing, or his blessings, to all of us, and allowing me to read it to all of you. And he has also let me know that this book will be made for free as a PDF soon, so you don't have to go out and buy it, although you're more than welcome to anyway. At the time, before he was a renunciate, a monk, he was known as Mark. And here we recount some of his experiences in Rishikesh, a city in North India. He's currently staying at an ashram, a spiritual hermitage. This chapter is called Search for Fulfillment. We won't read the whole chapter, but we're starting here today, Friday, March 10th. The following morning, after Swami Prakash's Bhagavad Gita class, hey, I know that book, I walked down to the river's edge and waded through knee-deep water to a large boulder jutting out of the flow. I climbed onto its gently rounded top, familiar to me because I had sat upon this very rock to meditate many times during prior visits here. I knew how to fit my body into its smooth contours, so I could sit comfortably for hours. All around me, water gushed tumultuously over submerged boulders, creating the exquisite music that only a river can compose. I looked northwards to trace the river's winding course out from the mountains. About a mile upstream stood the Sivananda ashram, where Swami Prakash had lived before. Nearby, the rope bridge Vijay and I had crossed yesterday dangled across the river. I closed my eyes and allowed my breathing to grow deep and slow, but I could not meditate. My mind was drawn back to yesterday's events at the cave, where we were reading he had met a Sadhu, a kind of saint that was living in a cave for the last 10 years and had made a vow of silence. And so Mark and his friend Vijay had trekked up into the foothills of the Himalayas to meet him. But he was a little disappointed because he was expecting this yogi. And he very well could have been. But the image he had in mind was starkly contrasted to the fact that he was reading a newspaper. And a little while later, he got angry at another one of the visitors, so he thought about the Sadhu, his lofty aspirations, and his apparent failure. Suddenly, the incredible irony of his predicament struck me, and I burst out laughing. He had renounced the world seeking fulfillment, seeking complete freedom from desires. He tried to cast off his desires outside the cave's entrance, but apparently those desires had followed him inside. I imagined him leaving his hometown, abandoning his beloved family and friends, and all that he enjoyed: delicious food, movies, cricket matches. I pictured him traveling to Rishikesh and finally arriving at the cave's gaping mouth. There, I suppose, he took a vow of silence and entered the shadowy cave to meditate. Day after day, he must have sat in rapt meditation in a hushed darkness of the womb-like cavity. Was it a struggle? I wondered. Did he achieve samadhi? deep absorption in meditation. I suspect that his meditation may have been frequently interrupted by thoughts about everything he had left behind. Sitting in that dreary cave, without the comforts and pleasures to which he had grown accustomed, would certainly have provided fertile ground for breeding desires. And the longer he sat in the cave, the more stridently those desires might have cried out for fulfillment. I don't really know anything about his meditation, nor could I have asked him for a verbal report. But I do know that if I deprive myself of something I enjoy, the desire does not simply disappear. Unsatiated desires can fade away in time, but sometimes they do not. They can fester like untreated wounds and grow in intensity. Desires are powerful. To attempt to rid them by mere suppression seems futile because they can hang on for years. And as long as desires are present, fulfillment is absent. No one feels fulfilled in the presence of desires. Even a single desire can make you feel unfulfilled, incomplete, and wanting. The Four Noble Truths, as expanded by the Buddha, declared desire to be the root of all suffering. And according to the teachings of Vedanta, an enlightened person is one who is free from desires, one whose sense of fulfillment is unobstructed by any kind of wanting. Freedom from desire, or more precisely, freedom from the sense of being a wanting, limited, inadequate person, is considered the fundamental pursuit of spiritual life. But how can you become free from desires, free from wanting things, free from likes and dislikes? You can choose to give up something you enjoy and desire, coffee for instance, but can you choose to give up the desire itself? If you stop drinking coffee, you will still want it. What you desire does not seem to be a matter of choice. Desires arise without your permission. Your free will, powerful though it may be, seems inadequate for the task of eradicating desires and preventing new ones from arising. Since desires cannot be given up by mere choice, suppose you try to satisfy them instead. Is it possible to satisfy all your wants? When will your last desire finally be fulfilled? New desires continually arise as others are satisfied. Desires seem to burn like fire. The more you feed them, the more they grow. One of the many Sanskrit words for fire is analam, whose literal meaning is not enough. Fire never says enough to the offer of more fuel. In the same way, the fire of desire will never say enough, no matter how much wealth, pleasure, or security is obtained. Yet, despite desire's ferocious appetite, we have all broken free of countless yearnings that once tugged at us. For example, I remember as a child being particularly fond of a teddy bear. I don't know what became of my furry friend, but I don't miss him. I outgrew the teddy bear. To put it more clearly, I outgrew that desire when I found a toy I liked more. I once considered the teddy bear to be a vital source of happiness, but I later found a toy truck that seemed a better source of happiness. And of course, the truck was later replaced by an even better toy, and so on. Desires are outgrown in this manner. Something desired as a source of happiness gets superseded by an apparently better source of happiness. This pattern extends well beyond childhood. As adults, we continue to seek better toys, but now those are new cars, spacious homes, and luxurious vacations. In the teachings of Vedanta, the basic principle underlying the quest for fulfillment is this: since we outgrow desire when we find something better, then we can outgrow all desires when we discover the source of happiness that can never be surpassed. And that ultimate source is found at the summit of one's spiritual journey. Having discovered it, enlightened persons become free from desire. For them, all worldly pleasures and accomplishments seem like childish playthings. The cave-dwelling Sadhu's display of anger suggests that he had not outgrown all his desires. Perhaps his 10 years of silent spiritual practice had failed to lead him to discover what the ancient sages discovered. When my ruminations about the silent Sadhu came to an end, I gazed at the sun's sparkling reflection on the river's undulating surface. The constantly changing patterns of shimmering light had almost a hypnotizing effect. My eyes soon closed, and I left the world behind, sitting quietly in deep meditation, with the Ganges alone as my companion. We will end our reading there for now, and we will continue it at another time. So I thank you for listening with us as we read War of the Ganges. And thank you to those who sent a gift whilst I read. Allow me to extend my gratitude now back to you.